speaker. I'm a person that basically speaks straight from my heart, and that's the way I've always been. I say that to tell you that straight from my heart, I love Paulding County more than you could ever believe. I've been here 23 years. My wife Julie and I, we've got 5 boys. We've raised a lot of other boys. We've got 27, 26, 22, 17, and 14. 17 and 14 were adopted. We were almost empty nesters. Don't ask me why we signed back up to say, but we did. But the answer to asking me why is that was a God thing. And those boys were brought to us. We're foster parents, and they weren't going to go anywhere else, so they adopted us first. And we didn't have a choice, so we adopted them. But I love Paulding County with all my heart. I speak straight from my heart. You've probably seen that maybe in the last 6 months of the commissioner meetings. We've had a lot going on. I'd like to share just a little bit with you because I have a lot of people ask me a lot of questions about the airport. And I want to let you know out loud, I've tried to my best, let you know exactly where I stand on the airport. In '75, we voted on the airport. Paulding County did, the people that were here at that time. And the vote was 2-1 against it. In '99, we voted on the airport. And some people say, well, we didn't vote on the airport, we voted on funding the airport. And that's true, but in a long story short, we still voted on the airport. And it was a 2-1 against the airport. Today, we've had a PR group along with a lot of volunteers knocking on doors. We've knocked on somewhere over 9,000 doors throughout the county, not just post 2, post 1, 2, 3, and 4, Bentwater, East Paulding. And right now, all of those combined, it's 2.5 to 1 against the airport. Now, just so that you know where I stand is this. I know, along with you guys, that we have an airport out there. All right? It was built for general aviation, and it was promised to be general aviation. In fact, from the leaders in the county at that time, in our chamber, from the leaders in the county, our past chairman, our past commissioners that I've spoke to, and in meetings that I was in, that I was a part of inside the meeting as a citizen, the law firm that represents the school board, they also represent the IBA, the Airport Authority, and us, the Board of Commissioners. The law firm even, in fact, there's lawsuits out there, settlements out there in the past that have been done on properties out there in the lawsuit that states it's not commercial, won't be commercial. Everybody is always promised no commercial. So I stand on 2 grounds when it comes to the airport. When it comes to general aviation airport, we have the airport. It's out there. And we need to work to make that successful, and I want to do that. And I think that we have failed, and our leadership has failed, in making that general aviation airport successful. Because so far we have not made it successful, okay? We haven't brought businesses out there that were promised that would be brought out to the airport. Back in '04, when it was talked about, in fact, the chairman of the Airport Authority, Calvin Thompson, said that, hey, if this was going to be commercial, I wouldn't even be a part of it. Period, cut and dry, would not be a part of it. Now, he's still the chairman today, and that tone's changed. Just because that tone has changed, just because the economy's tough and things aren't going well, doesn't mean that we can sell out our people. We made a commitment to our people. We promised the people, the leadership in the past promised the people no commercial. So these are the 2 areas I stand on. We need to make it successful. We need to do what we can do to make it successful with making sure that we take care of our community, keep our commitments to the citizens of Paulding County, and do what we can do. However, the way this whole deal was done is absolutely wrong. You don't do things behind closed doors. You don't go have 2-day retreats out of the county. You just don't do it. You don't use code words, code names, and everything else. I understand that when you're bringing businesses in here that we try to be careful, and we want to make sure that we get the business and another county doesn't get the business. I understand that. But when it comes to a major thing of taking a general aviation airport and turning it into commercial, don't give me the code names. Don't do it. Bring it to the people. If you want to change your mind and you want to say, hey, we're going to take general aviation and we need to make it commercial, you made a commitment to the people, take it to the people. Let them vote on it. Period, cut and dry. Some of you in here may be for it. Some of you in here may be against it. But the bottom line is this. If we take it to the people and it's voted on, then that's what it is, and we can all say, hey, it was done out front. I don't agree with the way it was done. Behind closed doors, code words, and 2-day retreats is not the way that you do business. If you're for that, as a citizen, if you're okay with that, the airport may not be in your backyard. What's going to be in your backyard with code names, 2-day retreats, and behind closed doors? All right? The other thing is, I'm trying my best and working my hardest to keep commitments and promises that were made by elected officials and leaders in this county in the past. And they made a simple promise. It's in black and white. It's on film. It's on all kind of documentation. We promised no commercial, general aviation only. So those are the two grounds I stand on. The way it was done and the promises that were broken. We can't do that. There can be a plan that we can all come together to make that airport successful. Will it happen overnight? Absolutely not. Have people been working on it day and night to make it successful? Absolutely not. And to go and take a pipe dream from somebody out of New York and do this and sell your citizens out is wrong. I think y'all have seen where I stand. I will not waver on it. I will continue to fight to the end. And until there's a commercial flight flying out of there, I won't stop. Whether I'm elected again or not, I won't stop. Period, cut and dry. I believe on standing on what is right. I believe on standing on the truth. I hope that I have shown you all that the last 3 years and 3 months. I'm the only commissioner that's sitting up there right now that has never missed a commissioner's meeting. When I took on the job, I said, hey, I'm making a commitment, I'm going to be there. And unless something happens as a family emergency, I will be there and I will not miss a meeting. And some people say, what's the big deal? Well, we've got 2 meetings a month, 2 meeting days a month, the 2nd and the 4th Tuesday. It's not that big a deal. You can plan your holidays, your vacations, and everything else around it. It works. It's easy. I started off making sure that I was there because I made a commitment to y'all that I would work hard. I made 3 promises. I'd work hard, I'd be honest, and I'd give back the first 2 years of my salary to the county. I've kept those commitments. Didn't promise anybody I'd pave a road, didn't promise anybody I'd get them water, didn't promise anybody anything other than I'd work hard, I'd be honest, I'd give back my first 2 years of my salary. I did that, I kept my commitment. I felt like I needed to be at those meetings because I was committed to y'all. What I've learned is I know I have to be at those meetings because honestly, I'm going to tell you the truth, I'm afraid of what will happen if I'm not there. I started out keeping a commitment to y'all to be there. I now know that I have to keep a commitment to y'all to be there because I'm afraid of what will happen. And you say, well, how bad can it be? Well, there's things that I think that have been done that are pretty bad, that have been done behind closed doors, and y'all have heard my voice. And there's a few people in here that I know are okay with the commercialization of the airport, and you know what? That's okay. I also represent you. All right? I represent the Republicans, the Democrats, the men, the women, the children, the ones that voted for me, and the ones that didn't vote for me. It doesn't matter. When you're elected, you represent everybody. And I can tell you that my email, my home phone, my personal phone, since October 3rd at 11 o'clock at night, watching the news, has been unbelievable. It's been the most trying time of my life. I turned 50 years old in June. It's been the most trying time of my life. I've had 6 months of not sleeping well. I've had 6 months of restlessness. I've had 6 months of it's just unbelievable what's going on and the stress that I feel like I'm under. I pray every day just to hand it over to God and let Him handle it. It's been a tough road, and I promise you, it's been a tough. I take it personally. I want what's right for our county. I want what's right for the people. And if we don't get what you want, and you want this, and you want that, it's okay. As long as what we do as elected officials and people in leadership is done out in the open, and you're all able to see what we do. And as long as that's the case, I'm okay with it. But when it's done behind closed doors, I'm not okay with it. I hope that you see where I stand. I hope that you see that I'm not afraid to stand. I promise you it's tough standing alone. It's tough. It's not a very fun place to be, but I don't mind doing it, and I will not waver. I will not waver. I think the biggest challenges that we have, and I hope I haven't put a bad mood on things in here. I'm letting you know where I stand. I think you know. I'm letting you know my heart. It's not easy. I'm letting you know that my wife and I pray each and every night for this county and for the people. All right? And it breaks my heart to see some of the things that happen. All right? I'm disappointed. I know that I'm not supposed to put my faith in man, but I'm disappointed. And so, the biggest challenge that we have the next 4 years is this, folks. We've got to have people in leadership positions in this county. And I'm not just talking about elected officials. I'm talking about appointed positions. I'm talking about, you can say, chamber positions, and I'm not pointing to anybody at the chamber, so don't take that statement wrong. I don't care what it is. I don't care our school positions. I don't care it's volunteer positions, our ballparks, and everything else. But from my point of view, the Board of Commissioners, the number one thing we got to do right now is we got to store open, honest, and ethical government. We got to restore it back in there. It needs to be done. Period, cut and dry. Open, honest, and ethical government has got to be restored. We don't have to agree. We can agree to disagree. It's okay. Let's just do it in the open. And you want to talk about the open. There's some things in the open that I've had to stand up for that I wish talking one-on-one and in one-on-one department head meetings and things, that some things could have been resolved and I didn't have to bring it out in the open. But sometimes when you're in that position, the only place you have to do it is bring it out in the open. And I'm okay doing that. But I think that's the number one thing that we've got to do, is we've got to restore that back in that building up there. Post commissioners, chairman, everybody's got to restore. And I have learned people will follow a leader. In any position, the ballpark, the schools, your church, people will follow a leader. But we got good leaders and bad leaders in all positions, okay? But it takes somebody pretty tough to stand up against what's going on that you feel like is wrong. And I hope that's what I've shown you the last 3 years and 3 months. I will continue to do that. I hope that I've never put you in a position where you've been embarrassed by anything that I've said. My prayer is that God will guard my heart and my mind, most of all my tongue, each and every day. And there's probably times where some things have happened where you say, I don't know how. I've had people say, I don't know how you keep your cool. I don't, but God does. And that's what I pray for each and every day. Because there's some times where I'm thinking something and something great comes out. It's not always from me. But Julie and I love Paulding County. We love living here. We work here each and every day. It's a place that I plan to be forever. I want it to continue to be the good county that it is. I want to make sure that we take care of our environment. I want to make sure that we take care of the citizens, our people. I want us to do the smart things that we need to do for today, tomorrow, and for the future and future generations to come. And as long as we're doing it out in the open in front of you guys and we're voting on things and we're doing things the right way, then I'm all for it. And if not, then I'll stand up strong against it. And I appreciate your support. I do not have anybody running against me in the Republican primary, but I've got 2 Democrats and an independent running against me in November. So it's going to be a long year. We're going to work hard. We're working hard now. We've got signs up. We're knocking on doors and we're making phone calls. And we'll be working the polls just as if I got 10 people running against me in the Republican primary. That's the way it needs to be. But I appreciate your support any way that you can give it. I appreciate your prayers, and we need it. And I'll take a couple minutes for a couple of questions if somebody like to give me a question. They did it a different way, basically from federal dollars, and just it was a decision that was made. And like I said, the last time we voted in '99, it was basically voting against the funding of the airport, whether we would support bonds to build an airport. And so a lot of people say, well, they didn't vote against the airport, they voted against the funding, and they did. We voted against the funding, and but they built it. And I'll be honest with you, I think a general aviation airport can be really good for our community. Okay, I want to make that clear. General aviation airport can be really good for our community. And we can do 90 or 95% of what they say they're going to do out there at that airport today. We can do that under general aviation. We don't have to have the commercial piece of the pie, and you've heard me say it before. We do not need to have the commercial piece of that pie in order to make that airport successful. This is what scares me. This is what scares me about that out there. That thing's been talked about for forever, since '75. But it's really been talked about since the early 2000s, and it really got out and talked about out in public. It got talked about real hard in '99 when it was turned down. But in 2004, when they brought it out and they brought it to the chamber and they told everybody general aviation, no way would it be commercial. They had a plan of what they were going to do. And I say they, everybody, whoever was involved in that had a plan. And that was '04. So I can count pretty good, and that was 10 years ago. And so 10 years ago, with the promises and commitments that you made 10 years ago, you haven't been able to make it successful. And what bothers me is you got somebody coming in from New York that said this, and I don't know that the plan is, he's got a 40-year lease, and I don't know that plan is for him to be here 38 of those years. Everybody's sitting there kind of quiet. But sometimes if you get what you want, you sell it out and you go on. So we got to wake up and smell the coffee, because I'm telling you folks, it's in the paperwork. Did I answer your question? Kind of, sort of, not really? We don't have to have commercial to do it. To make that airport successful, we don't have to have commercial to do it. We need people in Paulding County that are willing to roll up their sleeves and work hard, open, honest, and transparent, and make it happen up there. And we can do it. This is what we're good at in Paulding County is the government. And I'm not trying to shoot anybody down at all. But the bottom line is we're great at projects. It's a saying that I've had for the last 2 years. We're great at projects. And then you kind of look at me and say, okay, well, what else are you going to say? I don't even want to use the word. We're terrible at making the project successful. It's all about building the project. You build the project, and when you're done, it's done. The grass grows, the weeds grow up, and everything else, and it's not successful. Whether that's the film studio or the airport or whatever it is, we're not good. Anybody can build a park and build a film studio and build an airport if you got the money. Anybody can build what you want to build if you got the money. I got all kind of pipe dreams I'd like to build. But the bottom line is, who's got the gumption, who's got the knowledge and the wisdom and the business sense to make what you're going to build successful? Who's got that? Personally, I think we got people in this community that can do it. But just because we can take taxpayer dollars and build something, right, Mr. T? Anybody can do that. We need people that are gonna build something. It's not Field of Dreams, build it and they will come. Hey, build it, and I wanna see somebody make it successful, whatever that is, okay? Taking care of our citizens and our community the right way. Any other? Yes, ma'am.
Quick question. These guys that we are going into, quote, partnership with the airport, what kind of skin do they have in the game? Have they put any money up? Have they done anything like that?
You know, sometimes you can ask a lot of questions, you don't always get the right answer, the honest answer, but so far from my understanding and the research that I've done since October 3rd last year, not a whole lot of skin in the game. The contracts calls for some skin, but haven't put much skin in the game. Put up a few walls upstairs and a few offices, and that's about it. And that's the other scary part is really, I don't feel like anybody's fulfilling the contract correctly to begin with. Okay? And yeah, so to answer your question, I think the contract's really all for the tenant. And it's kind of puzzling to me that a group of people of 11 on the airport authority and commissioners, the 4 that knew about it, and our attorneys and everybody else would allow a contract written like that to so for the tenant, and that we're not protected. There's a lot of money that if this goes through that we're going to be shelling out for years and years and years and years. Don't let anybody tell you different. Okay? Did I answer your question? Yes, ma'am.
I just wanted to add that Propeller has not even paid the $500,000 escrow
Right.
that they're supposed to have paid. Also, can you explain how the airport authority plays a role in being able to circumvent the voters?
Basically, that was set up through the authority, and they basically have the power and the authority to be able to do that without it coming to the county, so they can make those decisions, and that's what happened. The problem is, the county has to fund the airport authority and the IBA, and that's where we could stop things, and that's where we should stop things. And you know, as you saw a few months ago, or not a few weeks back, month and a half or so, with what's going on in the court system right now, the airport authority didn't have the money to do the work out there. They borrowed $1 million from the IBA, and then and that's in court. And so then they had to come to us, and we gave them, I didn't vote for it, but we gave them $2.9 million to finish the project out there. And my question then was to let Brett Smith with Propeller Investments, let him do it. And they said, well, the FAA can't refund Brett Smith. They got to refund the airport authority or the government. Brett Smith can still loan the money to the airport authority. He can loan them $3 million for whatever he wants to loan them. The airport authority can use it for what they want, and FAA can refund them back to the airport authority. So there's ways to do it, and the answer to that is no. There's been no skin in the games, and he has not paid the $500,000. So very much of a concern.
And the authority is responsible for being able to put the general aviation in, even though we voted against it twice.
Right.
Because an authority really is nothing but a giant loophole.
Right.
To get around us.
Exactly. And like I said, we've got the general aviation airport, and we need to work hard, roll up our sleeves, do what it takes to make that airport successful. And I think we can. How successful? Probably different people have different views of that, but we can make it successful. Okay? Do I need to shut up?
Yes.
All right.